Everybody's joining us this morning. Make sure, yeah, the red light is on. All right. I want to do a quick review. Hope everybody's doing well. I know it's a busy time of the year, but we're down to what, 3 weeks left? So I thought I'd do a quick review of all the things that should have been done by now, or as a reminder on the weekly schedule. All of the we did all the CITI modules. Let's see. All your tests from Salkind should be done by now. Super Crunchers discussion boards. Salkind discussion board should be done. The Merriam discussion board should be done. All right. And the first two case studies should be done. In that vein, y'all all have a TaskStream account, and some of these things are due in TaskStream. Some of you are putting them in there.
Oh.
Don't forget before the end of the course to go to TaskStream and drop the things in there that we've been doing this semester.
Okay, good.
I think Lyndon's been dropping his in all along, but just as a reminder, all these things that I have here, most of them, there are drop boxes in TaskStream. There shouldn't be anything new in TaskStream. It should be things that we covered in the course. So go ahead and do those. And so coming up in 3 weeks, we will have our get together on Saturday evening after class. We'll go from 4. We'll go into we'll have a little cookout. I think Dr. Hamilton's coming, Dr. Bingham's coming. I haven't heard from Dr. Ball, so I'll get back in touch with him. And I invited Dr. Jones, but I have not. I saw her yesterday, but she left before the faculty meeting was over. She was invited to come to campus yesterday for DEOL, but before I could speak to her, she did her part and ran, so she didn't want to stay for the other 4 hours yesterday. And so, but I'll follow up with her as well. So just a reminder, all the things that we do this semester. Let's see. All right.
Dr. Lamb.
Yes.
What is the on April the 30th? What is a consultancy-based reflection? What is that? Because I'm trying to figure that out, because I know I will not be able to be in session on Saturday, but I will be there Sunday. So I just couldn't find information on what that was, what it consists of.
That's just going to be a roundtable discussion.
Okay.
Reflecting on where you are, what you still need to do. It's kind of a way for me to kind of close that out for this semester in terms of you should have your methodology worked out by now. By the end of this semester, my task from the DEOL folks were to get you to where you had your methodology figured out. Look at it like kind of like 5 chapters, like a dissertation. My job this semester was to get you through chapter 3, which is the methodology, the quantitative and the qualitative piece, so that you would know exactly how you collect your data, your sample, your population. You'll work on your validity and reliability issues, and how you're going to analyze that data, what methodology you're going to use to analyze that data. So that's what we're going to do in that last Saturday session. We may move that to Sunday so that you can be a part of that. But that reflection is going to be where I am, what I still need to do. Have I got it figured out? Going forward, am I where I need to be? And if you're not where you need to be, then you and I need to, we may have to work some on the side if you're not exactly sure what your methodology is going to be.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was something that we had to, have written up. So that's what was throwing me off. Okay.
No, I'm just going to review with everybody. Sometimes input from the group kind of helps folks more than just hearing from me. And so we'll do a little
Okay.
further discussion on where our consultancy projects are, and what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. All right, back to desktop. All right. All right. Please remember that when you get your case study done from this week, the Dropbox here on our Blackboard main page, I have a Dropbox here for your data gathering and giving feedback PowerPoint presentation. I have a Dropbox for that. And I also have the projects, the consultancy project PowerPoint and the written reflection for publication. Those two items also go here. Make sure, as I said, that you keep up with your discussion boards. You should have already done all your tests. All right, for this week, we're doing our third and last of our case studies. There it goes. And so there's two components: the data gathering and the giving feedback. And then there's a 2-pager that's due along with your presentation, kind of an executive summary. This case study should be kind of a compilation of everything you've learned this semester. These are much more involved than the first two. And so, but they are kind of like a culminating project on the case study. So let's take a look at data gathering. All right. Data gathering. Gathering data effectively is a critical skill for organizational development practitioners. Now, this week, we're now moving to organizational development. That's what case studies are about. And so, my Blackboard is slow this morning. Come on. Okay. And here are your instructions for this part of the process. Pair up with a peer and choose case 3, 4, or 5. Imagine you are a consulting team preparing to interview members. So this one is about creating an interview protocol and executing that interview protocol. I won't belabor you the point. You can read it yourself, and I kind of want this one to be self-directed, where you kind of figure out what you want to do without me telling you exactly what to do. This is one of those things that you can kind of figure it out on your own. Now, the case 3, 4, and 5, I can get Blackboard to work a little bit better this morning. So if you go back to Zoom session 3 case study, come on now, give me the little hand. There it goes. I have case 3, 4, and 5 on the board for you, and you can pick. They're rather lengthy. They're 6, and 10 pages. These particular cases that you choose from. You just choose one. You don't have to do all 3 now. Just choose one of these, and then design the questions and conduct the interview. Okay.
I have a question, Dr. Lamb. So are we doing this particular case study individually? So I personally choose case 3, 4, or 5?
You'll do these in groups, the same
Okay.
groups as before, the ladies and the men. When you read the directions for the data gathering, it takes at least 3 people to do these.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
One's going to be an observer, one's going to be an interviewer, and one's going to be the interviewee. So it takes at least 3 people to do this, and you will choose one as a group.
Okay.
Group exercise. Excuse me. You'll choose one of these 3 cases I have posted for you here. They go along with this particular exercise from the book. This is a book that you weren't required to buy. And so I have gotten access to them and posted them for you.
Okay, well, and we've done these studies, these cases, so this will be good because we're familiar with the cases
You're familiar
already.
with these. That's what I was told, that I wouldn't have to do this as an instructional video, that I could just introduce them, make sure you got them. I also went back to Miriam and pulled out the lesson plan that I did on conducting interviews, and I have reposted it here as kind of jumpstart you to get you some ideas of what you should be doing. So I have it posted here as well. So I would pick my case, I would review conducting effective interviews, and then I would jump in. And again, there's going to be 3 different roles. For the 3-person group, one of you will be interviewer, one will be the interviewee, and one will be the observer. For the 4-person group, Danny, for your group, you'll have 2 observers. It's just very simple how that will work. So you do the data gathering, and then you do the giving feedback. And this giving feedback, I don't have any ancillary materials for you on this one. I want this one to be of your own design, as creative as you want to be. Let's see if it'll open this morning. Blackboard's struggling this morning. They're working on it again. They forget that some of us do Saturday classes, and so they work on Blackboard over the weekend. It's been down this morning, email crash. You see it's trying to crash on me again. All right, so exercise 4, giving feedback. Let's pay a little attention to this one. Jasmine, the leader of a team of 11 customer service, has asked you to help. You sense that Jasmine might have a difficult time with feedback. And here are some of the things that was said about Jasmine. All right, your instructions. Working with a peer, and that can be your group. Create a brief agenda of your time with her. Do a little role playing. And here are the questions that you need to answer from this activity. How'd she respond? How'd you hear? How'd you feel? What should we take from this role play about how to conduct feedback meetings successfully? You might want to do a little research on this one. This one is supposed to be completely open-ended. I'm not supposed to give you any prompts, or I'm not supposed to give you any direction on this one. This is one of those they want to be an open-ended, creative kind of thing to kind of figure out on your own. I'm not that loosely coupled, but I go with the flow. I usually like to have everything clearly defined, more tightly coupled. This one is supposed to be kind of an open-ended, free-flowing, everything you've learned, everything you know. As a professional, if you walked in without somebody giving you guidance, what would you do? That's the actual point of this. Is again, this is kind of like the culminating experience here. And then you're going to write an executive summary of this week's activity. On both of these, you write a 2-page executive summary. And supposedly what you do this week kind of encompasses everything that you've learned in terms of qualitative and quantitative. Not so much program evaluation, but qualitative and quantitative, what you've learned. And so that's what we're doing this week. Again, you have your groups, the men and the women groups. The gathering data is by far the more involved of these. The giving feedback is kind of open-ended. You can take it where you want to. These are, again, let me go back again. I have the cases that you're to choose from. Again, just choose one. Don't do all three. Choose one case to do the data gathering. Again, remember your roles: an interviewer, an interviewee, an observer. For the 4-person group, you'll have 2 observers. That one is much more involved than this one. This one you can kind of have fun with and take it any way you want to. You know, if you really truly want to do a role play and one person wants to be the person, you know, wants to be the difficult person that's having to hear the bad news, that's up to you. You know, if you just want to have a discussion about what you should do when you're delivering bad news to the client system, you know, 2 of the things that I've learned working in large organizations and actually consulting in a lot of large organizations is there's two truths that you know when you walk in. The first one is many times when people say, we'll do whatever it takes to fix the problem, what they really mean is we'll do whatever it takes except fixing the actual problem. They know what the actual problem is, but they want you to find something else for them to do rather than tackle the real problem. That's why they call a consultant. Folks are pretty self-aware, and they know what the real problem is. And so, in a sense, what they're saying to you is, we'll do anything except what we have to do. We don't really want to have to. We don't really want to have to do what we have to do. So we're hoping you'll find us something else to do. That's the first thing. And the second is when folks had you come in, the leader had you come in and to do an evaluation of their leadership style or their management style, or what they really want is a validation and not for you to give them the bad news. What they want you to tell them is they're doing great, and the people that are not happy are just grumbly people. So that's generally what you find. I've told you a couple of cases where I came in and consulted in a school district not far from here. I was asked to come in, and basically the school board wanted an evaluation of the superintendent. And so I came in under the guise of, you know, just somebody to come, you know, just dropping by to talk kind of thing. And it was clear what the problem was. The school board knew what the problem was. The superintendent knew what the problem was, but nobody wanted to address the real problem. And so the real problem is that there were no consequences for not working, doing your job. You know, one of the questions I asked that superintendent is what kind of procedure do you have in place for hiring new staff? You know, recruiting, what is the process to bring in new staff, in terms of if you get rid of staff that's not performing, you know, you can't make an empty threat, you know, you got to do better or we'll get rid of you if you don't have some kind of a process in place to replace them. And, you know, his response was, you know, we don't have a process in place. You know, and so then I said, so that begs the question, are you willing to get rid of people who aren't performing? Oh yeah, we're willing to do that. And I said, well, you know, that's your real problem is you have a lot of folks who are not performing, but for whatever reason, they don't believe that you will replace them. And they're basing that decision on, one, you've never replaced anybody, and two, you don't even have a process in place to hire new people if you were to get rid of the people that you have, and they know that. So your problem is that you have underperforming people, and there's no sanction, there's no redress for that. You're not willing to address them or to fix that, and you have no process in place to get new folks if you got rid of the ones you have. And so, you know, things aren't going to get any better. And so I went back and I told the folks, very nice man. His executive staff there in the central office, very nice people. But that's part of the problem is that everybody knows they're nice people and they aren't going to make any changes. They don't believe there are any consequences for not performing, and so they don't perform. Not long after that, they made the decision to non-renew that superintendent, hired a new superintendent with the idea that he was going to hold folks accountable. And within 3 years, not long ago, within 3 years, he was superintendent of the year, not only in North Carolina, but nationally. This was a very well-to-do district that had a lot of resources and had an upper-class clientele and had the ability to be great, but they weren't even good because the superintendent and his staff would not hold people accountable. Again, I'll do anything but what it really takes. And you hear that a lot in organizations is, we'll do anything but what they really mean. And that's, sometimes you have to be the bearer of bad news. There's an elephant in the room. Everybody sees it, but nobody wants to deal with it. And on the other one, that's the first case study. On the second case study here, is one of these where you get called a lot of times. Folks just want you to validate what they're doing. I'm doing the right things. Well, they can't be the right things if you're not meeting your goals and objectives. Folks have this notion when they call a consultant that if we're doing certain usual customary practices, is what I call them, UCP, usual customary practices, that they're doing the right thing. No, you're doing the right things when you get the results that the organization expects or needs. That's when you're doing the right things. Otherwise, you're just doing usual customary practices. I hear all the time, well, I don't know why this is not working. We're doing all the right things. Well, no, you're not. If you're doing all the right things, it would be working. You're doing the usual customary thing. And you're hearing from your bubble of people who tell you, man, you're doing great. Everything's good. It's them. It's not us. But in leadership, organizational leadership, results are what matter. And so you can't say if your organization is not performing, you can't say, well, I'm doing the right things. It's somebody else's problem. No. As the leader of organizations and as the consultant to organizations, to the leadership, you have to be able to say, no, you're not doing the right things. You're doing some things, but they can't be the right things because you're not getting the results that you need. It's hard to tell people that. I told you I had to tell, one of my proteges that. That was tough. I love him like he's, like my oldest son, but I had to tell him. The reason why your reading scores are the same for 3 years in a row is you're not supervising the people that you put in charge of this program. And they know that you're not supervising them. They know that nobody's doing formative assessment of them. Nobody is doing fidelity checks. Nobody is coming in and watching the lessons being taught. They aren't being taught. You know that. You're not dumb. I taught you that. If you get the same scores 3 years in a row, then that means no treatment's happening. That means that they aren't teaching these lessons. You know that, Ray. I know I taught you better than that. So that was hard for me to tell him that, again, because I love him like he's my son. But he had to hear, don't tell me you're doing the right things because your reading scores have stayed the same 3 years in a row, and you spend awful lot of time and money and initiative to try to put this reading program in to fix this problem. The program's is not being utilized. There's no fidelity check. It's the same as the reading adoption sitting down in the book room all year, not being used. That's pretty much what's going on here. So you've got to figure out your own style. I have no style. I just tell people. That's probably not the best. You've got to figure out what your style is in terms of how you work with people. And that's what this giving feedback is about. That's why I said I can't tell you what to do here. You have to figure out what your style is going to be when you have to break the bad news to the leader. My style probably not the best. It's probably one of the worst, but so I don't advocate that you do what I do as I do. Do as I say, not as I do on this one. Don't just tell people that it's not good. You know, you're not doing what you need to. You got to figure out a better way than that to break it to people. Folks generally don't like for you to tell them things like that, but you can find a better way than being blunt. And that's the whole point of this one, is to try to figure out a way to communicate popular or critical things to the client system without them, punching you in the nose or throwing you out of the building forcibly. And that's what this one is about. All right. I see my time is about up. What questions do you have?
Dr. Lamb, did you say which day we will do these presentations on the case studies? Maybe Saturday or Sunday?
Let's look right quick. Let's see if I can pull that back up, Danny. I thought I had that reserved. Crashed this document a minute ago. I had this document up, Danny, but we've had 2 crashes on Blackboard here. Let's see if it'll open it back up. So we'll do an adjustment here on the fly. Here it comes. All right. I have that scheduled for Sunday. The consultancy-based project reflections, where we said is a roundtable, and the case study presentations. I had that kind of the last thing that we do on Sunday. I've got consultancy-based reflections on Saturday as well. I had it on both days. I'll probably just move that all to Sunday, where we'll sit in a roundtable and talk about that. And I had case study presentations on both days as well, trying to split it up. But we'll move those 2. As it shows here, we'll do both of those on Sunday. We'll do our consultancy-based project reflections, where we talk in a roundtable. That may be the last thing that we do, but we'll do case studies on Sunday. So that'll give you the Sunday to have those ready. Sometimes y'all get together on Saturdays and y'all can be ready for that. It might help you to be face-to-face for a few minutes and kind of plan what you're going to do. So we'll do our program evaluation instruction. We'll do all that on Saturday. And then Sunday, we'll finish that up if we didn't get it all done. We'll finish that up, and then we'll do consultancy and case studies on Sunday. And then the last thing, the following Saturday on May the 6th, we'll do an optional Zoom if you need to. If you need for me to Zoom with you, we will. Okay. Good question, Danny. So everybody knows where we are, what we've got to do. Everybody understands the task on our case studies, what our roles are going to be. All right. Okay. All right. Kate Alice, have you got a few minutes?
I do.
All right. when we sign off. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Kate Alice, I'm going to send you another link, and we're going to talk for a few minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, everybody have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.